Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Legends of Sport podcast. I'm your host, Andy Bernstein. So I hope you all can tell how much I enjoy doing this podcast. Every episode we bring to you is special, and I've truly enjoyed each and every conversation we've had for the past almost 7 years. But every once in a while, we have a guest that is extra special to me personally, and this guest is one of those people. The legendary Pat Riley joined me during the recent Hall of Fame festivities, and I can't thank him enough for stopping by. Pat and I go back to the beginning of his coaching career with the Showtime Lakers when I was a young whippersnapper photographer trying to carve out a career and also work my way into his huddle, but that's a whole other podcast. Pat was instrumental in teaching me about loyalty and what it took to earn his trust and the trust of the entire Lakers organization. I'm proud and honored to have Pat and Chris Riley as my friends. 40 years later, we were able to sit down and talk about so many great things in this episode. Michael Cooper and Jerry West's enshrinements, Jack Nicholson as a superfan, Pat's early days as a Lakers player, the Showtime reunion in Maui a couple of years ago, and being honored this season by the Miami Heat for Pat's 30 years with their organization by inscribing his name on the court, and so much more. And we didn't even get a chance to talk about our mutual love for Bruce Springsteen, which could be another episode. Stay tuned. So, folks, breaking news. This just in from the news desk over there at Legends of Sport. Pat Riley is going to be honored by the Lakers at some point in the future with a statue outside Crypto.com Arena. Well-earned, Pat, and well-deserved. Super, super happy for you. So thanks so much to Pat for coming by during a very, very busy enshrinement weekend. It was so much fun recording this interview, and I hope you will all enjoy it. In fact, I know you will, because I did. Thanks to everyone for tuning into this week's episode, and as always, I'll see you on the backside. Well, I'm here with one of the guys who gave me my start. I have to say, I've told you this before, but a lot of my career was because you opened the door and let me not screw it up. So, Pat Riley, thank you for joining us. I'm really happy to have you on the Legends of Sport podcast.
Andy, you're welcome, and I never let you in.
Yes, you did.
No, you've chronicled my life, my wife, Chris, her life, and not only a team that I love, the Lakers, in our great run. I was there 20 years, 10 years with Showtime.
Yep.
And you do catch us. You caught me in New York, and you caught me in Miami.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate, your love and care, for, my history pictorially, and I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Pat.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And, we're great Bruce Springsteen fans, too,
Oh,
so
yeah,
let's not leave that out.
absolutely.
But that's a whole other thing.
Right.
There'll
That's
be a
a whole
pit
other
with
thing.
our name on it at some point. So, Pat, we're here this weekend. Really, the Showtime Lakers have come out in force to really celebrate Michael Cooper's enshrinement.
Right.
Sixth man going into the Hall of Fame. Not very common, right?
Yeah.
But the guy's got 5 rings, played for you, won all 5 championships with you. What was it like coaching Coop as a person, but as an athlete as well?
Well, first of all, I think the Hall of Fame is beginning to look at things differently when they select, nominate, and then induct, players. Because Michael never was a starter. Really, he was a sixth man who was a starter. And Jerry Buss, he rewarded his sacrifice because he could have started anywhere in the league and probably made a lot more money. So he paid him like he was a starter. But, Michael, as a 8-time all-defensive guy, defensive player of the year, 5 world championships, whether he came off the bench or started, he belongs in the Hall of Fame, and he belongs with the pantheon of names, if that's the right word, that are hanging from the rafters of the Forum when they're going to retire number 21. So
exactly.
Mike was irrepressible. He was one of the greatest competitors that I ever coached. And he was also a glue guy, a real glue guy for the team, and kept things right, kept the gold team, you know, at that time, you know, whoever was on the gold team, whether it was, you know, Magic, Nixon, and Silk or Jones and Kareem, or when Worthy came in and Scott came in, he used to grab me by the shoulder. He said, "Today it's the gold versus purple, 5-on-5."
Wow.
You know, and he'd get Magic all wound up, and he'd get him fired up. And Magic played 44 minutes the night before. He didn't want it, but Magic was a competitor too, and so the only guy that was a little bit, I don't want this tonight was Kareem. You know,
but you didn't have to motivate him, is what you're trying to say.
No,
You didn't need
motivation. I think it's one of the great things about the team for those 10 years is they were competitive, all of them, and they didn't mind the work. And there were times that I maintained them, you know, very well because of the work load that not only myself but a lot of coaches in the league used to dole out. But Michael was that kind of glue guy, that irrepressible competitor that I loved. Yeah,
it's just an amazing guy, too. And when you took over as coach, Coop had been there like 4 or 5 years already.
About 2 years.
2 years? Okay. And, you know, here comes Magic, and then here comes James, and then AC comes over, and, you know, Kareem had been there for a while. But, you know, he was kind of a little bit like the OG on the team, you know, which, you know, you think of Coop as a little bit in the background, but he wasn't. And like you said, he's the glue guy. That's a perfect thing to say. Gary Beatty also called him an Iron Man because the guy, like, never got injured, but he played balls out every single game.
He just played.
It's crazy.
He was hurt a lot. We would never play anybody who was injured, really injured. Right. You know, that if they were in whatever extremity it was, you know, like I can remember AC Green broke his thumb, put a couple pins in it, and he put a cast on and he played, you know. So, you know, but when there were debilitating injuries where guys couldn't move, you know, we never played him. But Coop is, and all of them back in that generation, players played hurt. Yeah. That's it. And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't, you know, a tacit agreement, you know, with me or anybody. It was just they wanted to get out there and play. And so Coop played, you know, 82, 81, 79, 80, 79. Crazy. But he still can't beat AC Green. He played 1,200 straight games.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
But Coop was an Iron Man.
Yeah.
He really was.
Incredible. So a couple of years back, you and Magic put together an incredible reunion of anybody who won a championship during the 5 and the 80s, right? No, how many in the 80s were there? There were more than 5. There were 5 total in the 80s.
Five championships.
So if you had been on any of those teams, you were invited to Maui. And Magic said that during that week that no other team and no other sport could actually put that together because there wasn't that brotherhood, that deep love this many years later. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot said about we're a family. You know, there's a lot said about that. Yeah. You know, great teams, you know, can win. Greater families can win championships. And and that's what we were. Yeah. They liked one another. They had fun with each other. They could ride Cap. You know, Cap was a little bit, you know, he wasn't about all that. You know, Cap was a lot older than those guys. You know, I mean, he was like 8, 9 years older than those guys. But you know, we respected. They respected. You know, Cap's space and the fact that he liked this real jazz. He liked quiet. He liked serenity. He would read before a game, and so all of our players respected Kareem. Kareem respected these guys who were crazy a little bit, loved music. They were putting boom boxes on the bus and singing, you know, George Benson's "Love Times Love," you know, whatever it was. They really liked each other. They'd go on the road. They'd go to movies together. They'd go out to dinner. They'd have team parties. So it really was a family. It really was, and I felt part of it too. And you know, to have everybody come back together, to see you out there with the blue note cards, coaching these guys again. Kareem, God bless him, shooting skyhooks at 75 years old. He had just gotten out of the hospital. I mean, it was unbelievable. What an incredible thing! And then this is kind of another reunion because like Silk wasn't in Maui. Right. I don't think Norm was there, so they're all here this weekend. So what's it like for you to see? It's like, you know, your kids are coming back. You know what I mean? That's right. They, you know, there's also heartache.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in this league.
Mm-hmm.
In that 10-year run, I mean, I was crushed. You know, when Norm got traded, I was.
Yeah.
I loved Norm.
Yeah.
You know, he was part of that first championship and the second championship, and
Right.
and I was when Jamal got traded.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, at that time Scott came in and Worthy came in,
Yeah.
and you know, Jerry was a great general manager, and while he was part of the family, it's a business.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
I found that out myself
Yeah.
in 1990
Yeah.
when it wasn't overt, but
Mhm.
I was like pushed out the door, and it was time. It was
Yeah.
time for me to move on. It was time for them to move on, and
Yeah.
but those 10 years, when they all came back to that reunion, it was like old times.
It was
like
amazing.
an old family reunion,
Yeah.
and of course the MC was Irvin Magic Johnson,
Yeah.
who's the best
Yeah.
at controlling the mic in the room,
Yeah.
and we had a great time.
Well,
Had a
that
great
was
time.
amazing. I don't think it'll ever
Loved it.
happen again. It was incredible.
It'll happen again.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
think?
we've already talked about doing some other things, you know,
that'd be
not so
great.
far away.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are a little older, and the logistics were great. So,
Yeah.
you know, Magic and I talked about this prior to COVID, and COVID stopped it, and then right after COVID
Yeah.
we went. But yeah, we can do something in the States, and I thought the next time,
Yeah.
and we'll put the pressure on Michael Thompson and say, let's just go to the Bahamas.
Ooh.
He's the
Don't twist my
president of
arm
the
on that.
Bahamas. now.
Could I still go even though I
Yeah,
don't use a
yeah,
camera anymore? Is that
Sure.
okay?
Yeah, you always will be allowed in here. But
Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you.
I think we're going to keep trying to get together. Because,
Yeah, that's a great idea.
As we get older, we appreciate that time.
Yeah.
And I just think it's normal, Andy.
Yeah, for sure. So let's segue to Jerry West. Jerry West being honored, the late great Jerry West. I hate to put that word in front of his name, but for the third time, unprecedented in the history of the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, Jerry's being enshrined for the third time. It's incredible. What can we say about Jerry? I mean, you
He's
know,
the logo.
Yeah, I mean, he was unbelievable.
And I say that with great respect.
Yeah.
And you know, I've told the story many times. In 1970 was a very tough year for me. Chris and I had just got married. That was beautiful. I was put on the expansion list, and I went to Portland with 30 other guys up there, and I was fighting for my career.
Yeah.
And my father passed during training camp, and I had to go back for the funeral. And I missed about 7 days. And when I came back, the next day I got cut. It was pretty hard.
That's
It was pretty
ruthless.
cold. Yeah, it's pretty cold.
Talk about a business. Oh,
But,
my God.
You know,
Yeah.
and Chris and I were looking at one another like, you know, is our career over with
Right.
and all this. And 2 days later, I get the call from Fred Schaus that I was claimed on waivers for $100. And $100.
Really?
And I got on a plane, and
Really?
oh yeah, I got on a plane, and I went to L.A.
Yeah.
for my first day of practice. While Chris packed up, she thought she was going to live there for a year. She packed everything up and moved down. She came down 2 or 3 days later.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget how nervous I was, and I walked into the gym. I had not met with Fred Schaus yet, who was the general manager, but I walked into the gym for the first practice, and I was there early. I wanted to be there early, make a good impression.
Yeah.
And then the door opens and walks in Jerry West. And he walks right up to me. He's got a ball under his arm. You know, I'm now. I mean, really.
Really?
Because I had nothing but respect for Jerry.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I was raised in Schenectady, New York, you know, 2 hours from Boston. I was a Boston Celtic fan.
Yeah. Okay.
But I loved West. He played every.
See, I never knew that about you.
Yeah,
You were a Celtic
yeah, and
fan.
I loved the.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I loved
Okay.
the Celtics, and that's all you saw on
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon.
Sure.
It was the Lakers versus the Celtics,
Yeah.
or New York versus the Celtics, or
Yeah.
the Celtics versus everybody on television.
Right.
And so Jerry was my idol in a way, and also when I came up for the draft in '67, I thought the Celtics might take me because they had taken Frank Ramsey, and they had taken Lou Chiropoulos at one time, and Cliff Hagan.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe the Celtics would draft me. I got drafted by San Diego, you know, at the time. But he came up to me, Jerry came up to me And he put out his hand, and he shook my hand. He said, "Welcome to the Lakers,
Wow.
Pat. You can really help us.
Wow.
You can really help us." And
Wow.
it just made me feel great.
Yeah, how affirming.
And
That's great.
And then Fred Schaus, the GM,
Yeah.
met with me that afternoon. He says, "Your job, and the only reason why I got you here,
Yeah.
is your job is to make sure every day in practice you keep West and Goodrich and Baylor
Yeah.
in shape by working them hard."
Well, whatever it
Okay.
takes, right, Coach?
So Jerry didn't like me for a while because I said, "This is my survival." I explained to him, "I got to work you hard."
Yeah, man. And you came with
And-
that Schenectady kind of work
Yeah.
ethic too, man. That's for
So
sure.
that's when I met him,
Yeah.
and he was a mentor for me as a player.
Yeah.
He always helped me on the court,
Mm-hmm.
where to be, when to catch it, when to be ready. He really helped me improve.
Yeah.
I felt great playing with him on the court.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, 10 years later, he's pushing me through the door,
Yeah.
telling me, "You can do this.
Mm-hmm.
You can do this."
Amazing. Because he didn't want to be a co-coach or
No,
anything.
well,
he didn't want any part of that coaching business, right?
For 14 games, though,
Yeah. I remember.
he was there. We
Yeah.
were 12-2, and he finally told Jerry Buss that we can forget about trying to find another guy
Good.
and let Pat run this year out.
Yeah.
And so they believed in me, especially Jerry,
Yeah.
and we won the title that
Amazing.
year.
Amazing.
And here I
That's
am
right.
sitting
Yes,
talking to you.
that's right.
50
Yeah.
years later.
Yeah.
But he was a
that's
great,
incredible.
great mentor. I loved him to death. We were
Yeah.
not only great friends,
Yeah.
teammates, a mentor to me, and then even the 30 years that I've been away from the Lakers, a lot of conversations.
Yeah, good.
Telephone calls, meet him at scouting
Yeah.
areas, going to the combines and stuff.
So that's
I miss him.
That's another question I have for you, because I talked to Mitch Kupchak about, is it an innate ability to judge talent? When you go to a combine, you're going to watch scouting people. I mean, how do you know that this kid is going to be something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Mitch said he kind of learned that from Jerry. He
Right.
would watch Jerry. He would go together. They would scout guys. I mean, you've been doing this a long time. You put together some amazing teams,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Post-Lakers. And is it an innate ability, or you got that from, I don't know where, from
Well,
your college coach?
I think you learn it.
Yeah.
If you've been around the league as long as Jerry was,
Yeah.
and if you were the talent that Jerry was, which was, either the best in the league at the time or
Yeah.
one of the top 3 or 5 or in the world at
Yeah.
the time, I think talent knows talent. They just know it. They
Okay.
see it. They
Yeah.
feel it.
Yeah.
In the attitude, how a player walks,
Yeah.
Jerry was big on hands and length and verticality. He had, because he was a great athlete.
And also what's up here,
Yeah,
right?
very smart.
Yeah.
He had the best vision
Yeah.
of anybody. He could really
Yeah.
see, and so
Amazing.
Jerry was a great talent evaluator,
Yeah.
especially on young players.
Mhm.
I wasn't necessarily that way. I mean, I had the ability to recruit free agents who already were talented, So that's
Yeah.
where or trade for them.
So interesting.
But I can't remember ever, drafting a James Worthy or drafting a Magic Johnson or
Yeah.
drafting AC Green or all the guys that he drafted
Yeah.
that were Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
I mean,
All
that's
pieces in the
19
puzzle,
years old,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, incredible. So the last person we want to talk about is another great Laker. Never played the game, never put on a uniform, but the great Jack Nicholson was honored as a super fan
Right.
this year.
Yeah.
And, Jack can't be with us because he couldn't really travel.
Yeah.
But just a memory of Jack, you being on the sidelines. Jack is over there with, his big grin and, of course, his
Yeah.
shades. And
Yeah.
what did that mean to you in Showtime, and how did he represent the Lakers?
Well, Jack was a real fan.
Yeah.
He wasn't like a super fan. Come here, look at me, sitting in these courtside seats
Yeah.
and showing off.
Right.
He was into it. He loved baiting the officials. He would love baiting the other coaches or
Yeah.
players or whatever it is. But he was
Yeah.
really a basketball fanatic.
He
He and Lou
was.
Adler.
Yeah.
They were there every night.
Crazy.
And,
Yeah.
all the celebrations at, on the Rocks,
Yeah.
the club that they own where we would go is very family oriented. I would say that Jack was probably part of the family. He had more contact and relationships with the players
Yeah.
than he did more with me.
Yeah.
I took it, when I got the job, as the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, I took it very seriously. You know, I was put in charge by Jerry Buss and Jerry West of this 100, maybe at that time, $100 million franchise, which was a lot.
Yeah.
And I took it very seriously that I didn't want to be thought of as a guy that was just a GQ coach, or he came down and glad-handed all the celebrities on, you know, on the Celebrity Row. And so, but Jack was different.
Yeah.
And when I got there, I think Jack's seats originally were close to the Laker bench.
Yes, they were. That's right.
And I told Dr. Buss, because he used to always mess with me, you know, and talk to me. And I said, you know, could we get Jack down next to the visitors bench, and he can harass the hell out of those coaches and players?
But that didn't happen, did it?
Yes,
because when they moved to crypto, the Staples,
eventually, at the Forum, eventually,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the year, but it wasn't personal.
Oh, that's funny.
But I have a lot of funny stories about Jack.
I bet.
And having dinner with him and stuff. But he's not only a great actor, he just was a great basketball fan and very knowledgeable.
Yeah, very much. So my claim to fame, other than, you know, doing what I did for 43 years, is that I got to direct Jack Nicholson. I don't know if you remember, but remember we did that crazy poster in the concession? Lon Rosen had the brilliant idea, let's invite Jack to do it. It was on a game day, a shoot around. The guys had to put the uniform on. You literally gave me 5 minutes to shoot. At 11 o'clock, start shooting. I'm shooting, and there's no Jack, of course. And all of a sudden, he taps on my shoulder. He says, where do you want me to stand, kid? I can't do it, Jack. And I said, oh, you're buying a program from Pat Riley. And you had the most authentic reaction to that, because you didn't expect him to show up either. Do you remember that? That was crazy.
What did I say? What was my reaction?
No, your reaction, you just looked at him like, you're buying a program for me? Like, really?
Yeah, here we go.
It's hilarious. I'm going to send you that picture.
I do. I remember the picture.
So funny.
And all of those things that Lon put together were all part of, you know, the marketing of the day. Now, I used to get upset at wasting the players' time on this thing. I didn't realize how important marketing was, you know.
Yeah.
And
I think you sold it to Denny's or somebody, that poster,
Yeah, and made a little money, you know. But, we had I have a lot of those pictures. And the guy that has all of them, to this day, he has every banner, every pennant, every hat.
Yeah.
He has every signature. Every one of those marketing things is Bill Burkett.
Oh.
And he got all the players to sign
Burkett,
him every year.
Yeah.
And he has probably the greatest collection of memorabilia than anybody. And I said, Bill, you know, I hope I'm in your will, you know, one day. And I got a quarter of those things.
So, Pat, last thing, I promise, last thing. I was blown away when I read that you're now celebrating your 30th year with the Heat.
Right.
They're putting your name on the court. I mean, what does that mean to you?
Well, they surprised me with it.
Yeah. Really? You had
I had no idea. You know, Nick
Did you even
Harrison
know it was
actually,
your 30th year, by the way?
Well, I know I was going pretty strong and pretty long, but I was meeting with Nick Harrison on a deck of stuff that were going to happen that year. We're renovating the facility, the arena. We're doing new seats, a new scoreboard, and he's showing me how everything's going to look.
Yeah.
And then the very last page, he says, here's the court. Here's how the court's going to look. And I just look at it, and I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
And then he shoved it in front of me. He said, look a little closer.
Oh.
And so I looked a little closer, and I looked down, and I saw it.
Yeah.
And he laughed, and I cried.
Oh.
I just, so many things were going through my, you know, my mind at the time about it. And I said, no, you're not going to do this. I'm not going to let you do this, you know. I don't want this, you know. And Mickey then called me that afternoon, or I talked to Mickey, and he said, we're doing this, and if we don't do this, we're firing you and doing it anyhow. And so,
well, with the boss,
I want to thank them. I want to thank them, Mickey and Nick and the Harrison family, for doing this. And so I made sure that one thing would happen, and it is that, you know, where they have the logo of Jerry West, my name is right to the left of it.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's connected to my mentor, and I'm right there with the logo. And so when all the players from the opposite team, like Boston, come out and start stamping on my name and squashing my name or spitting on my name, they're going to do the same thing to the logo. So,
the reason why you just picked Boston out of a hat?
No,
I'm kidding. Pat, I love you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
It's so great to sit with you, and
Yeah.
thank you for taking us down memory lane.
Yeah.
But just to connect with you is great.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Just keep snapping that camera, too.
I'm trying. Well, you know,
You always have a
I'm
day
on the
job.
other side now. I don't know what's going on.
Good luck.
Thank you. Well, I could have gone on for hours chatting with the great Pat Riley. What an amazing and inspiring person he is. His accomplishments as a coach and executive are truly legendary. Thank you so much, my friend, for stopping by during a very, very busy enshrinement weekend, and a big thanks to his wife, Chris, for helping him to do it. Thanks, everyone, for tuning into this episode and for continuing to support the Legends of Sport podcast. Please tell all your friends to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Legends of Sport, and our Instagram at Legends of Sport. And of course, my photography can be found on Instagram at ADBPhotoInc. Big thanks, as always, to our producer, Carlin Barker, and our editors, Sean Gosser and Addison Shao. Thanks again to all our loyal followers for tuning into this very, very special episode. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week for another great episode on the Legends of Sport podcast.